This conference will now be recorded.
So in today's session, we are going to discuss about SOQL queries. We will see what exactly an SOQL query and what is the use and how to prepare SOQL queries in Apex programming and how can we use these SOQL queries to fetch the data from the Salesforce objects. And upon fetching this data from the object, how to add our own user defined conditions, like how to add the filters and how to fetch the required data from the objects through SOQL query. We'll see practically one by one. So now tell me what exactly this SOQL stands for. SOQL stands for Salesforce Object Query Language. Now, in our starting classes of Apex programming, we have discussed the various features offered by Apex programming. There we have discussed about SOQL. So SOQL stands for Salesforce Object Query Language. Now, so that already we know that Salesforce provides a ready-made application called as Salesforce CRM. Salesforce is not only offering a platform, Salesforce offers a ready-made CRM application that is called as Salesforce CRM, which is used to store the data related to sales and the service and the marketing. Now, so we can able to store the data related to sales and the service and the marketing. So in order to store the data related to my sales data, my service data and marketing data, as part of CRM, Salesforce has provided so many objects. Salesforce provides a collection of objects. These objects will be called as what? Salesforce objects. Okay, fine. So these are standard or custom? Standard objects, because these objects has been given by Salesforce by default. In order to store that sales related data, service related data and the marketing related data, Salesforce provides a collection of ready-made objects which are called as standard objects, like campaign, lead, account, contact, opportunity, case, solution. Like that, so many objects has been given by Salesforce, which is used to store the data related to your business. Now, along with that, we can create our own custom objects also. Because as part of this Salesforce, they are not only offering the CRM, they have offered a platform also. By using that platform, we can build our own custom applications as well. So, in order to store your custom business related data related to your banking or finance, insurance, healthcare, or whatever the application that you are building, as part of your application, whatever the data you are going to store, in order to store the data, we are going to be creating a collection of objects by our own. So the Salesforce developer or the Salesforce administrator, they can create their own custom objects also depends upon the business needs, which are called as custom objects. So as part of Salesforce, we have standard objects and the custom objects. The combination of both the standard and custom objects will be called as what? Yes objects. Yes objects means Salesforce objects. Okay, now tell me where all these objects will get resides. These are residing inside a database. What is the database for Salesforce? Database.com. database.com. So now Salesforce is not using Oracle, they are not using SQL Server to store their customers' data. They are using their own customized database that is called as database.com. Database.com is the own database of Salesforce where all the Salesforce objects and the records will get resides. Whatever the objects that we have, including standard, including custom, along with these objects, whatever the records we have stored, all those records will be storing inside the database, database.com. Now, so once the data has been stored inside my objects, in some cases, I want to perform some operations on the records. Like I want to update. If you want to update the records, first of all, we have to get the records from the object. Then only we can assign some new values. Sometimes I want to delete the records so that we need to collect the records first. Sometimes I would like to restore the records, so we need to collect the records first. Sometimes I would like to merge the records so that we need to collect the records first. So, in order to perform the DML operations, it may be update, it may be delete, it may be undelete, it may be upsert, it may be merge, anything. In order to perform this DML operations, first of all, we need to collect the records from the object. Except insert operation, remaining all the DML operation requests, we get to collect the records first. If you want to get the records from these objects, then we are using the help of a query language that is called as SOQL query language. So, Salesforce object query language is used to query the records, to get the records from the Salesforce objects. Now, now tell me, what do you mean by a query? Query means what? Question. Okay. It's a request or it's a demand or it's an order. Request. Right. So now query is nothing but a request to that respective database to get the data. Like for example, assume that I'm using a product. It may be like as a laptop, mobile, any product also. If you are facing any problem with the product, then what will you do? We'll be raising a complaint. We'll make a call to the customer care. We are going to be raising a complaint. Now, that complaint will be in the form of an order? No. It's in the form of a demand? No. It's in the form of a request. We are requesting to the support people, dear customer support, I'm using one of your product, but since today morning I'm facing this problem, so could you please assign a representative to fix my problem here? That means we are requesting to the people. Like the similar way here also, query is nothing but a request to the database.com to get the required records from one or more Salesforce objects. So, as part of Salesforce object query language, Salesforce objects means which includes the standard and custom objects which has been stored inside the database.com. In some cases, I need to get the records from this database objects so that we are preparing a request. We are sending the request to that database.com to get the required records information. Then how can we send this request over here? If he is a normal person, then I will explain them in the form of either English or Hindi or Telugu or Tamil, whatever the language he can understand. Now, suppose here this is a database here. How can we send the request? You want me to prepare a sentence? Please send me account records. Please send me only heart rating records like that. No, database.com can't understand. Database.com, it will understand some specific formats. It can understand some specific syntax. So, whenever we are making a request to the database, we have to prepare the request in a specific format which can be understandable by the database.com, so that we are using a specific language. By using that language, by using that syntax, by using that format, we can prepare a request. This request we are sending to the database.com in order to collect the required records from one or more Salesforce objects. So that's what here they have given the name as Salesforce Object Query Language. By using this Salesforce Object Query Language, we can get the records, we can query the records from one or more Salesforce objects. Okay. Now, so now here in this case, as part of this Salesforce object query language. By using this SOQL queries, we can fetch the data from one or more number of objects. Not only from one object, we can fetch the data from multiple objects also. Like I want to collect the account records along with the account, the related contacts, related opportunities, related cases also. So in that case, I want to fetch the data from multiple objects also. Now, in some cases, I want to fetch only those account records whose rating is equals to heart. Remaining records I don't want. In my account object, some hundreds of records are available, but I don't want all, only those account records whose rating value equals to heart. Okay, only the heart rating records I want. Remaining records I don't want. Sometimes I want to get only those cases whose the priority is equals to high. Remaining records I don't want. Sometimes I want to fetch only those lead records whose the city value equals to some Mumbai. Remaining records I don't want. Like that, upon fetching the data from the object, we can add one or more user defined conditions as well. Not only fetching all the records from the object, we can filter the records also. We can filter out the records to be visible inside your query by adding one or more user defined conditions. That facility will be available to you. Okay, now here in this case, upon fetching the data by using this SOQL query, how can be prepared? Now, in that case, in order to prepare this SOQL query, we have to use a statement called as select statement. By using select statement, we can prepare our own SOQL query. Through that query, we can fetch the data from one or more number of objects. Okay, understood the concept here? Then what exactly the select statement syntax? Okay, what kind of governor limits has been given by Salesforce? We'll see one by one here. Okay, now make a note of this one. Now, Salesforce provides a collection of ready-made objects as part of Salesforce CRM, which are used to store the data related to sales, service, and marketing. The developer or administrator can create their own custom objects based on the need upon building the custom applications. Now, the combination of both the standard and custom objects will be called as S objects. That is Salesforce objects. All the Salesforce objects and records will get resides inside the database.com, which is a customized database of Salesforce. Now, by using SOQL queries, we can fetch either one or more records from the Salesforce objects. By using SOQL queries, We can fetch either one or more records from the Salesforce objects. We can fetch the records from either one or more Salesforce objects at a time. While fetching the records from the object, we can add one or more user-defined conditions to filter the records from the result set. SOQL queries should be prepared by using select statement. Now, what do you mean by this query? Query is nothing but a request to the database.com to get the required records from the Salesforce subjects. Now let me give you the syntax of select statement. What exactly the select statement syntax? Now let's see. Select field 1, that means a field names. Field 2, field 3, like that field n. So we can specify select what fields data you would like to query. Okay, we can specify the field names from object name, and here we can apply the conditions where conditions group by column names having conditions, order by column names, limit, number of records to return, offset, number of records to skip, all rows for update. This is the syntax we used to follow in order to prepare a SOQL query. Done up to this part, everyone? Done with this? Now, let me explain the syntax. Generally, whenever we are writing this SOQL query in any other databases, There, these SOQL queries are also called as simply SQL. In other programming languages, this will be called as SQL, structured query language. So there the people are writing select star. Okay, star. Star is referencing what? All the columns. Inside my object, whatever the fields are available, all the fields will be getting referred by star. Select star from object name. The people are writing like this here. In this case, star will be referencing all the fields. Instead of writing each and every field name separately, we can simply specify select star. But in that case, suppose for example, my object is having some 100 fields. Now it is fetching all the 100 fields data from the object. Then where this data will resides inside my application. In the form of a collection, it will store this all the 100 columns data. Are you using all these 100 columns data in the application? No. I'm using some 10 to 20 columns data here. If you are using only this 20 columns data, then why you are fetching remaining 80 columns data unnecessarily? That data will be storing inside your application. It will be storing in the form of a collection. To store that 80 columns data, collection will occupy some memory. That means your application is consuming more memory. Because of that more memory consumption, it will be impacting on your application performance as well. That's what here, as part of this real-time implementations, star is not recommended to use. Even though the database is having the facility to use star, but in the real-time implementations, it may be any project development, star is not recommended to use. But when coming to the Salesforce people are a step ahead. These people has completely removed this star concept in SOQL query. No star concept in Salesforce. If you are using select star from object name, it will show that parsing error. It will show the compilation error here. So no star concept in Salesforce. Compulsorily, we have to specify field names. Sometimes you can raise a question, sir, I want to fetch all the fields available inside my object. For that one, we have some ready-made functions. We'll see those functions also as part of SOQL queries. Okay, now. So now in this case, whenever we are fetching the data from the object, we have to use the help of this select statement, specify the field names. What fields data you would like to query, specify the field names by separating a comma here. By separating a comma, specify the field names. Don't write the field labels. Please enter only field names, not the field labels. Please remember that point. Select the field names by separating a comma from object name. Now, along with that here, whenever if you want to fetch the data from the objects, we need to prepare this select statement. Now, in some cases, if you want to filter out the records, whatever the data you would like to fetch from the object, if you want to filter the records, then we can able to apply the filter conditions. These are the various filter conditions given by Salesforce. Like we have where class, group by class, having class, order by class, limit class, offset class, all rows class, for update class. These are all are the various classes. Classes means filters, that means conditions. Now we can apply our own classes also in order to filter the records from the result set. But adding these conditions are optional. That's what I have enclosed all these options inside the square braces here. So whatever the things that I have mentioned in the square braces, these are all are optional. If you want, we can use it. If you don't want, leave it. No issues. These are all are optional. So now writing these classes are not mandatory. These are purely optional classes. Here, if you want, we can reuse. If you don't want, leave it. No problem here. Okay. Next. Now, whenever we are using these classes, we have to follow this order. The first four classes will be in the same order. Whatever the first four classes are available, where class, group by, having, order by. These classes will be in the same order. Suppose if you're changing this order of these classes, syntax will be wrong. Okay, syntax will be wrong. So please remember that syntax is also over here. So now we have to follow this order. Next, limit class and offset class will be in the same order here. Limit class should be first, offset class will be next. Then what is limit class, what is offset class, what is all rows class, what is where class, everything we'll see one by one here when moving forward. Okay, understood the concept now? Next one. Whenever we are using these SOQL queries, upon preparing the SOQL queries, we have few governor limits. Upon using SOQL queries, Salesforce has imposed few governor limits. Then what are those governor limits that we have in SOQL queries? Now let's see. The first governor limit is whenever we are using SOQL queries, we can use maximum of 100 SOQL queries per transaction. Within a single transaction, we can use a maximum of 100 SOQL queries, not more than that. That is a limitation given by Salesforce. That means 100 SOQL queries we can write within a single transaction. When you try to use more than 100 SOQL queries within a transaction, Salesforce will throw an exception, which is system.limit exception. Too many SOQL queries, 101 exception will be getting arised. Okay, it will arise that exception, system.limit exception. Boss, we have given that, okay, limitation of 100 SOQL queries per transaction, but you are crossing the limit. You are trying to be using 101 to 1 also, which is not at all possible, so that, okay, we can't perform this operation. All the previous operations will be getting cancelled. So that here we can use only 100 SOQL queries per transaction. That is the first governor limit. Second governor limit. Upon using this SOQL query, each SOQL query can return maximum of 50,000 records. Each SOQL query can return maximum of 50,000 records, not more than that. For example, I have an object here. I have an account object. In my account object, I'm having some 10,000 records are available. Now, whenever I'm making an SOQL query, now this query will return all the records, whatever we have. It will return all the 10,000 records. Suppose inside my object I'm having 1 lakh records are available. Now my SOQL query will return only 50,000 records only, not more than that. Even though your object might be holding some more number of records, but SOQL query can't return all. It will return only 50,000 records. What 50,000 records randomly it will pick up, we can't say. It will pick up 50,000 records only. From out of this 1 lakh records, it will fetch only the 50,000 records randomly, it will pick up that. Okay, so in this case, each SOQL query can return maximum of 50,000 records, not more than that. Okay, these are the two governor limits are available as part of SOQL queries. First governor limit is each SOQL query can return maximum of 50,000 records. And the second one, we can use maximum of 100 SOQL queries per transaction. Okay, next. Now to avoid these kind of limitations, we are following some best practices. What are those best practices? Now let's see. Whenever we are writing SOQL queries, don't write any SOQL query inside the for loop. Don't write any SOQL query inside the for loop, because we can use only 100 SOQL queries per transaction. Suppose if the for loop is repeating for till 100 times, then fine, because in each iteration one SOQL query will be used. So total 100 times it will execute, 100 SOQL queries will be executed. We have the limitation of 100 per transaction. Suppose if the for loop is repeating for 200 times, then what will happen? At the time of 10 time, it will hit the governor limit, it will cancel your whole transaction over here. So that don't write any SOQL queries inside the for loop. Always we can write the SOQL query outside the for loop here. This is the first best practice. Okay, next. Second one. Second best practice is whenever we are preparing this SOQL queries, upon fetching the fields data, don't fetch the unnecessary columns data from the object. Of course, your object might be having so many fields. Whatever the fields are really needed for you in the application, fetch only that fields data. Remaining unnecessary fields data, don't fetch from the object. Why? Because if I'm fetching that all the fields data, if I'm fetching some unnecessary fields data, that data will be collected, storing into my collection. Because of that, collection will occupy some more memory, so my application will consume more memory upon execution. If the more memory consumption has been done, automatically it is impacting on my application performance. So that here, don't fetch the unnecessary columns data from the object. Please fetch only the required columns data here. Okay, these are the two best practices we used to follow upon writing SOQL queries. Clear? Now, make a note of this one. Governor limits. First one, we can use maximum of 100 SOQL queries within a transaction. If the user tries to use more than 100 SOQL queries, then Apex runtime will raise an exception system dot limit exception too many SOQL queries 101. Second one, each SOQL query can return maximum of 50,000 records. Each SOQL query can return maximum of 50,000 records. Best practices. Always avoid the usage of SOQL queries inside the for loop. That is, don't write the SOQL queries inside the for loop. Second one, don't fetch the unnecessary fields from the object. Fetch only the required fields, data from the object which are really required inside the application. Done with this? Now, let's see. How can we write the SOQL queries and how can we execute them? Whenever we are invoking this SOQL queries, we have two ways are available in Salesforce. In order to prepare and execute the SOQL queries, we have two ways. First one, by using query editor. First one, by using query editor tool, which is available in developer console. When you go to the developer console editor, inside that editor we have a small toolbar is available. That means tab bar is available. In the tab bar we are having so many tabs like logs tab, test tab, checkpoints, view state, progress, problems, query editor, like that various tabs are available. We can go to this query editor tab. There we can execute SOQL queries and SOSL queries also both SOQL and SOSL queries we can execute by using this query editor. This is one way. Second way is by using Apex programming also. Through with the help of Apex programming also we can invoke SOQL queries as well. That facility is available. So that we can execute the SOQL queries in two ways. First one by using query editor from developer console. Second one by using Apex programming language also. Then how can we write, how to execute them, we'll see practically here. First we'll go with that query editor, then we'll see through Apex programming how can we do this. Now let's see. Salesforce provides the below two ways to invoke the SOQL queries. First one, by using query editor from developer console. Second one, by using Apex programming. Now, how can we go to this? Click on setup menu and click on developer console editor. Go to the developer console editor. Go to the tab bar. Click on query editor tab. Write the SOQL or SOSL query inside the query window. Click on execute button. View the results inside the result window. This is the navigation we used to follow in order to write, to execute, to view the results of your objects through SOQL queries. We'll see few practical use cases how to use this query editor from developer console to prepare the SOQL queries to see the results. Done with this? Now, so now let me go to that Salesforce R and let me show you how this query editor will look like, how to write, how to execute the queries. We'll see with practical. Let me go to my Salesforce R. Now, go to the setup menu, click on developer console. Now go to the developer console editor, click on file menu. Sorry, go to the tab bar which is available, okay, which is in the collapsible state right now. Now in this tab bar, we are having so many tabs like as a logs, test, query editor, checkpoints, view state, progress, problems, various tabs are available. Now go to this query editor tab. Click on this query editor tab. Now it is providing the query window. This is the part here. This part is called as query window. This is the query window. Inside this query window, we can write your SOQL query. Whatever the SOQL query or whatever the SOSL query you want to execute, we can write that query inside this place. Next, once the query has been prepared here, then at the bottom left corner, we have this execute button. Click on execute button. Whenever we are executing this SOQL query, first of all, it will check the syntax of your query. In that syntax, whether we have followed the same order of that query or not. Whatever the clauses we have used, whether the clauses are in the same order or not. Whatever the column names you have mentioned, whether the column names are correct or not. Syntax is correct or not, it will validate that whole syntax. Upon checking the syntax, if there is any syntactical mistakes are available, those will be visible in this error window. This is the error window. In this error window, we can see the errors information. Whatever the errors are available, those errors information we can see inside that error window. Suppose my query is perfect. There is no syntactical mistakes inside my query. In that case here, we can see the results by using this result window. This is the result window. In this result window, we can see the results information. Okay, we have query window, we have error window, we have result window here. Clear? Now let's see how to write some small SOQL queries. Now let me show you with the practical. Next, take a small use case. Write an SOQL query to fetch all the account record IDs, names, rating, industry, annual revenue, and active status values from the object. Write an SOQL query to fetch all the account record IDs, names, rating, industry, annual revenue, and active status values from the object. Now tell me how to prepare this SOQL query now. How to write this query? Hmm. So tell me that query part here. Hmm. Select. Okay, right. Name. Okay. rating, okay, okay, active status. What is the field name? Active underscore underscore C. Next, from account. Okay, that's it. Simple. So just we can specify the keyword select and specify the columns whatever you want. We have to specify the column names, not the field labels. Okay, field names. From object name. We are not adding any conditions over here. How to add the conditions, we'll see later. This is the query I would like to prepare. Let me place this query over here. Click on execute. Now we can see the result. Inside this account object, we have total 24 account records are available. All the record details we can see. These are the IDs of the record. Complete 18 characters ID of the record will be visible over here. Names, rating, industry, annual revenue, active status fields. Okay. Now, next, second, write an SOQL query to fetch all the lead records details from the object. Write the query for this. You know in lead object what fields are available, you know that. Now tell me the query. Select ID, lead object fields.
First name, last name,
Name, title,
Don't refer that. Now
company,
what lead object?
first name, last name,
First
title,
name, last name, email, title, company, status, rating, industry, annual revenue, phone, and the facts from lead object. So you have to remember that field names of those objects here. Not all the field names at least. Okay, few field names you should be able to remember. Now, let me execute this query. Now we are able to fetch all the fields data, ID fields data, first name, last name, email, title, company, status, rating, industry, annual revenue, phone, and the facts. Whatever the fields that you want, we can specify the fields data to be get collected from your object also over here. Depends upon your requirement. Okay. Next one. hard use case. Next one. Write an SOQL query to fetch all the case records from the object. Write the query for this. Case records, case object fields. What fields are available in case object? ID field, case number field, case
subject,
status, priority, type, origin, reason, subject of the case. If you want, you can add description also, whatever you want from case object. Okay. Now, case ID, case number, status, priority, type, origin, reason, subject from the case. Let me execute this piece of code. I am preparing this query. Click on execute. Now we can see total 27 case records are available. All the case recorded details we can able to see over here in this result window. Now, suppose for example, if I am giving any mistake over here, when I click on execute button, it will show the error message over here. It will show the error message. Suppose if I am giving that field name as wrong, okay, types. Then when you click on that, it will show the error message here, column 42, priority types. No such column types on entity case. That means in that case object, we don't have any column with the name types. We are having the field with the name type, okay, singular. So that whenever we are giving this, okay, wrong field names, it will show the error message also. Next. Write an SOQL query to fetch all the user records from the object. Whatever the user records are available, we can fetch all the user records from the object. Select the ID of the user, first name of the user, last name, email ID of the user over here, title of the user, username is active, which is used to check whether this user is an active or not here from user object. So we can collect the user ID, user's first name, last name, email ID, title, username, active status. I'm collecting this data from the user object. Let me place the query, click on execute. We can see those user records. Whatever the users are available, those user records, we can able to see it over here inside my result window. Okay. Any question? No, 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 not case sensitive. Okay, complete Salesforce development is not case sensitive. You can write in any case, no problem. Okay. More than? It will fetch up to 50,000, right? Hmm. It, it won't return. It won't return more than 50,000. Randomly, right? Conditions, where class. By using where class, we can apply the condition. Only that matching condition related records, how many you want, you can fetch. Okay. If you want to fetch more than 50,000 records, then go with the data loader. Through data loader, we can export up to 5 million records, 50 lakh records we can fetch. Okay. Now, any more questions? Okay. Next. Write an SOQL query to fetch all the hiring manager records. Whatever the hiring manager record, that means custom object records I would like to fetch now. How to fetch the custom object records now, let's see. Select the ID of the record, name of the hiring manager, location underscore underscore C, contact number underscore underscore C, email address underscore underscore C, designation underscore underscore C, current CTC underscore underscore C from hiring manager. Now in this case, so whenever we are writing this SOQL queries, no need to follow any case sensitivity here. The complete SOQL query is not case sensitive. Not only this SOQL query, it may be SOSL also. Complete Apex programming, Visual Force programming is not at all case sensitive. Now it is indicating there is no such field location. The field name is location name. Click on execute. We can fetch. Totally we have 262 records are available. All the 262 records has been visible over here. All the records are visible here. Clear? Next. Take a small use case. Write an SOQL query to fetch all the email templates information. Write an SOQL query to fetch all the email templates information. So whatever the email templates that we have, all the email templates information we can able to fetch from the object through an SOQL query. Select the ID of the email template, name of the email template, description of the email template, Template type, what type of template it is? Is it a text type or HTML or custom or Visual Force or what? Next, available for use. Whether this email template will be available for use or not. Next, body. Body field will contains actual email template content here. In that email, whatever the content we have written, that content will be available. Along with that subject also. Subject, comma body from email template. I'm writing this query. Available for use column is not available. I think is active. No. Is active column is indicating whether this template is available for use or not. So we can query all the email template IDs, names, descriptions, template types, okay, whether email template is available for use or not, subject of the email template, content of the email template, everything. Is active. Write an SOQL query to fetch all the Apex classes information. So whatever the Apex classes that we have inside your Salesforce org, all the Apex classes information I would like to fetch. In order to fetch all the Apex classes information, select the ID of the Apex class, name of the Apex class, body, from Apex class object. Select the ID, name, comma body from Apex class. Body means whatever the Apex class code you have written, that complete code will comes under body part over here. Now let me execute this. Now we can query. These are the 11 Apex classes that we have prepared till now. This is the body part. Okay, ID, name, and the body. If you want to see the actual content over here, because hiring manager utility, if you want to see that content, double click on this here column here. Use that Control A to copy this one, copy, and you can paste it here. The complete code will be storing inside that field automatically here. Whatever the code we have written, the complete code will be available inside this. Clear? Now, clear up to this one? This is the way
Excuse me,
we
sir.
can prepare our
Can
own
you repeat?
SOQL queries through with the help of. This is the way we can able to prepare the SOQL queries with the help of query editor.
Feroz, can you repeat last use case?
Now, here we can able to query all the records from the Apex class object that already we have discussed. All the Apex classes information will store inside the Apex class object, so we can query them. So whatever the Apex class ID generated by Salesforce, that will store into the ID field. Apex class name will store into that name field. And the whatever the Apex class code, whatever the code you have written business logic, that will be placing inside that body column. If you want to see the code of any of your Apex class, just you can go to that body column here, double click on this particular column name, copy this content here. They were using Control A, Control C. That means select all, copy, and then we can paste it wherever you want. Whatever the lead records the data that we have prepared, that complete code we can able to see it over here.
Thank you.
Clear up to this one? Now, this is a way we can prepare the SOQL query and we can execute them through query editor from developer console. This is one way. The second way is Apex programming. Through Apex programming, how to invoke these SOQL queries, we'll see in tomorrow's session. Whenever we are invoking SOQL queries through Apex programming, Apex divides the SOQL queries into two types. First one, static SOQL, second one, dynamic SOQL. Then what is static SOQL, how to prepare, and how it look like, how to execute, how to catch the result. If the query returns one record, how to handle. If the query returns multiple records, how to handle. We'll see. Then we'll see dynamic SOQL. What is dynamic SOQL query? How to prepare it here, how to execute, how to see the results. We'll see that concept. Then we'll see how to implement the functionalities one by one. We'll see with the practical. Then we'll see the classes also one by one. Okay. Don't miss that tomorrow's session. That is most important feature here. Static SOQL, dynamic SOQL, that is most important because the entire development we are using the same. Okay. Thank you.